Hi, I'm Dalton Schrock. I'm the owner of the old Wakarusa Railroad. I'm glad you joined us today. We're just about ready to leave the station and take this mile-and-a-half trip, and I hope you enjoy your ride as much as we're going to enjoy it. As soon as the engineer gives us the high ball, we're ready to go.
All aboard! Yeah, I'm just sitting down. The old Wakarusa Railroad is a 15-inch gauge train that operates in conjunction with the Come and Dine restaurant, located on the east side of Wakarusa on State Road 19 in Indiana. Dalton Schrock had seen several 15-inch gauge railroads and decided he wanted to move up from model trains to something big enough to give rides on. The project started to come together in 1988 when Dalton found locomotive number 98. The locomotive was built in 1957 by the Sandley Light Railroad Works at the Wisconsin Dells. The Sandley Works used the famous Civil War locomotive, the General, as their prototype to construct two 15-inch gauge copies. Locomotive number 82 and locomotive number 98. 82 was built for and operated by the Milwaukee Zoo. 98 was sold to the Hoot, Toot, and Whistle in Elgin, Illinois. In 1982, the Hoot, Toot, and Whistle closed down, and number 98 was sold to the Knoxville, Tennessee Zoo. At the end of 1988, the zoo no longer needed 98, and Dalton was able to purchase the locomotive and bring it to Wakarusa. Construction on the railroad began in the spring of 1989. The layout called for a point-to-point line with reverse loops at each end and required two trestles. A 100-foot concrete tunnel was installed at the southern tip of the line. Close to 1.5 miles of ties, rails, and ballast were laid, spiked, and graded into track. Big equipment was used to backfill and move around the top soil. Construction continued through April, May, and June. By July, preparations to operate began by placing the locomotive on the rails and making needed adjustments. 4 Crown-built sightseeing-type coaches were also being readied to join locomotive 98. Finally, the railroad began giving its first rides at the end of July 1989. In 1991, the Crown coaches were replaced by authentic rail cars built by the railway's personnel. The road now consists of 3 coaches, 2 cattle cars, 1 gondola that is used for maintenance, and a caboose.
Hi, I'm Brad Sherman, Chief Engineer for the old Wakarusa Railroad. Every day I come out about 2 hours before we have to get it ready and push the engine out of the tunnel where we keep it overnight. I have a long flue brush that I scrape 43 of our flue tubes inside the boiler. I keep all of our parts oiled and lubricated, and there's a special steam oil we fill for the cylinders.
Engineer Brad has many responsibilities. First thing every morning, he must ready the locomotive. He brushes the flue tubes, cleans the smoke box and stack. After he lights the fire, he oils and lubes all the moving parts on the locomotive. After about an hour of working the fire, the steam pressure reaches 150 pounds and he's ready to run the train down to the station. Once there, he will fill the tender from the water tower. The tower holds 200 gallons and refills itself so that the 100-gallon tank in the tender may be quickly loaded as it is needed. Brad also fills the tender's bunk with wood to keep his fire going and continues to oil the moving parts. Besides operating the train, Brad will explain how and why a steam locomotive works.
Okay, I do have this valve that's open here. It's called the Steamcock Valve, and that lets all the steam out of the front of the engine, as you see. You pull out here. What that does is flows out any condensed water that collects in the bottom of the cylinders while we were sitting still. The steam condenses back to cold water, and that blows any out, keeping the cylinder from bursting. And then we close it. And now all that steam exhaust will end up going out of the smokestack, creating a draft, which helps the fire to burn hotter. Okay, once the steam pressure gets up to about 150, we don't want it to pop off, so we inject some water here. And I've got two valves down here. On my left and right side, I can inject water into the boiler. That also raises the level of our water and cools down the boiler at the same time.
Other things available here, if you come and ride the train, we have an antique tractor museum. My father has one of the largest tractor collections in the United States, and he brought some of his nicer tractors over, and we opened a museum right over here on our right, and that's open every day except Sundays. We have a real nice family-style restaurant here. We have a gift shop where we sell all kinds of specialty candies and gifts and souvenirs from Indiana and the Amish country. And of course, we now also have the petting zoo, where you can play with the animals and feed them and that type of thing. Of course, you can't see me now, but we're going through a tunnel. We just crossed Maplewood Drive, and over here to my right, you'll see the old windmill. And that's a real old windmill. It's about 60 to 70 years old, and it runs, and there's a water fountain on the bottom where you can get a drink. And you can have some of that good country Wakarusa water. When you come out here, if you want to go fishing, you're welcome to do that. We have bluegills in it. We have some bass, and they're pretty good size. We stocked the pond over a year ago now already, and we got some good fish in there. So if you enjoy fishing, you just come right on out and help yourself. I don't mind a bit if you go out there and go fishing. It's kind of nice, you know, you can bring the kids out here and sit out there at the picnic table and throw your rods out there, catch a few big ones, and watch the train go by and wave at the kids, on the passengers on the train.
Come and Dine welcomes groups to make reservations to come ride the train. Schools and daycare centers have found it to be an interesting field trip.
My name is Mrs. Brenneman. I teach at Roosevelt School in Elkhart. I teach first grade. I brought my class along with another first grade to take a train ride today. We are studying transportation, and we're learning all the different names of the cars and the engines. I called Come and Dine restaurant and asked them if I could bring my class to for this train ride, and they said yes, and so I decided to bring them and learn more about trains.
That we built this last winter, and it is a 1/3 scale of the original depot in Wakarusa that was built over 100 years ago. Inside, you buy your tickets there. There's a ticket agent on duty. It also has a complete line of souvenirs and gifts, things like coffee cups and buttons and toy trains and books. A lot of informative books, as well as things like Thomas books, Thomas the Tank Engine books. And this will be where you'll purchase your tickets when you get here. Our special trains in the fall, pumpkin trains, mid-September through the end of October. Now the train leaves the station, makes about a 3/4 of a mile trip to the pumpkin patch. Everybody gets off the train, everybody goes to the pumpkin patch, and you pick out the pumpkin that you want. Now I do advise you to come early to get the pumpkin that you want. But it's been a very good success, and that's in the fall of the year, and we hope to see you for that special train. Well, I hope that you enjoyed watching the video as much as we enjoyed putting it together for you. And with that, I guess I'll just say goodbye.